Night presses against the broken windows like a living thing. Inside the cramped rail car, the air hangs heavy with the smell of damp uniforms, rust, and unspoken fear. The women sit in silence, knees drawn close, backs stiff against the vibrating metal walls as the train groans. Through the darkness, no one knows where they're being taken. Only that dawn feels like a threat. Keiko presses her fingers against the wooden floorboards, feeling each rattle as if the earth itself is trembling. Her throat is dry. She hasn't spoken in hours. If they separate us, if they hurt us, the sentence never finishes in her mind. She has already imagined the worst. A single lantern swings above them, casting long, wavering shadows across their gaunt faces. Yumi's hair is matted with dust. Her hands cradle a small cloth pouch filled with the only possessions she still claims, a chipped comb and a tiny paper, charm from her mother. She clutches it so tightly her knuckles shine white. Outside, the night wind whistles like someone quietly weeping. Rumors had crawled through their unit for months. American soldiers are monsters, tall as trees, faces carved from rage, eyes cold enough to freeze a river. Women captured by them, they'd been told, faced fates worse than death. The propaganda posters never left their minds. The skeletal horned depictions of American giants, the claws instead of hands, the snarling mouths, the grotesque bodies. As the train rattles, the images seem to move with the shadows, becoming real for a heartbeat. The women breathe in shallow, careful sips. No one dares voice what they are all thinking. Keiko slowly opens her diary, her hands trembling with each jolt of the carriage. If they truly look like the demons they showed us, if they truly are not men at all, tonight may be the last time I see a sky, even through broken glass. The train slows. Metal screeches. Silence falls like a blade. They have arrived. And on the other side of the door stand the men they have feared their entire lives. The doors slam open with a violent clang. Cold morning air knifes into the rail car, carrying the metallic scent of wet soil and distant engines. The women flinch back as if the wind itself were an enemy soldier. A voice shouts in English, sharp, unfamiliar, commanding. Keiko freezes. This is it. The monsters. The giants. The creatures they warned us about. Boots crunch against gravel outside. Heavy footsteps. More than one. The sound grows closer, each impact sending a tremor through her spine. She squeezes her diary shut and hides it beneath her uniform. Yumi grips her arm so tightly the skin burns. Don't look at their eyes, she whispers, echoing the warnings drilled into them. They say if you do, you lose yourself. Keiko nods, though her heartbeat is pounding so loudly she can barely hear. The women are escorted down from the rail car. Their legs shake, muscles stiff from days of travel. The sky stretches enormous and unfamiliar above them, gray, but wide, almost gentle. The earth, damp from night rain, gives slightly beneath their thin, worn-out boots. They walk in a line, their heads lowered, waiting for the moment a rifle butt slams into a shoulder, or a giant hand yanks someone away. Every breath is a countdown, but the cruelty never comes. Instead, what they hear are soft murmurs, a calm, almost bored discussion between the guards. One of the voices even laughs, a warm, human laugh, shockingly out of place. Keiko's pulse stutters. Demons don't laugh like that, do they? She risks the smallest glance sideways. A pair of boots, mud-splattered but well-kept. Trousers tucked neatly. A belt polished to dull shine. Nothing monstrous, nothing deformed. She forces her eyes up an inch higher. A hand, large, yes, but clean. Fingernails trimmed, no claws. Her lungs seize. Yumi sees it too. They look... She can't finish. The sentence feels forbidden. The women had braced for nightmares. Instead, they walk beside men, ordinary men, whose humanity is the first crack in everything they believed. And with every step, that crack widens. The path leads them toward a cluster of low wooden buildings surrounded by wire fencing. The camp is quiet, too quiet. No screams, no barking dogs, no chaos. Just the steady hum of generators and the soft clatter of pans from somewhere unseen. Keiko swallows hard. This calm. Is it a trap? The American guards gesture for them to stop in front of a long barracks. One soldier steps forward, holding a clipboard. His uniform is neat, but his face is nothing like the monstrous posters. His features are young. His eyes, startlingly blue, carry no hatred, only exhaustion. The kind that comes from long nights, not cruelty. He speaks in slow English, pointing gently toward the entrance. No shouting, no rage, just direction. Keiko feels her stomach twist. Why aren't they yelling? Why aren't they hurting us? As they enter the barracks, another shock hits them. Warmth. A wave of gentle heat wraps around the women the moment they step inside. A furnace hums in the corner, radiating a comfort they haven't felt in months. Yumi steps forward first, trembling. She reaches a hesitant hand toward the warm air as if touching something forbidden. "Keiko," she whispers, eyes wide. This can't be right. Neatly folded blankets rest atop each bunk. Real blankets. Thick. Smelling faintly of detergent. Some soft, floral scent they've never encountered before. Keiko brushes her fingers across the fabric. It feels impossibly warm, impossibly soft. Then she sees it. A bar of soap. Thick. White. Heavy. Wrapped in crisp paper. She lifts it with both hands as though handling a sacred object. The scent drifts up, clean, pure, almost sweet. Nothing like the harsh, gritty soap from their old supply kits. Her throat tightens. Why would enemies give this to us? A guard appears in the doorway, holding a metal bucket filled with steaming water. Steam curls into the room like a ghost, warm and welcoming. The women gasp softly. Yumi clutches Keiko's sleeve. "They said Americans don't treat captives like humans," she whispers. "Then why? Why does this feel—" She can't finish. Keiko finishes it silently for her. Why does this feel like kindness? Morning arrives quietly, almost shyly. A pale beam of sunlight slips through the barracks window and stretches across the floorboards. Keiko wakes to warmth on her face. Real warmth. Not the feverish burn of sickness or hunger. For a moment she forgets where she is. Then the smell reaches her. Something rich. Something warm. Something she hasn't smelled since childhood. Food. Real food. The women gather hesitantly at the doorway, unsure if they're allowed to follow the scent. A guard motions them forward, not with anger, but with an open-palmed gesture as though guiding guests instead of prisoners. They step into the mess hall and the sight punches the breath from their lungs. Plates. Stacks of them. Metal trays lined neatly along the counter. Behind the serving line, American cooks ladle generous portions of steaming oatmeal, slices of bread soft as clouds, and something that looks like fruit, bright, yellow, glistening with syrup. Yumi grips the edge of the counter, knuckles whitening. "This can't be for us," she whispers. But a cook smiles, actually smiles, and gestures for her to hold out her tray. Keiko's hands tremble as she accepts her portion. The bowl is warm against her palms. Steam curls upward, carrying the scent of cinnamon. Cinnamon. A smell she only remembers from childhood. Markets. Her chest constricts. Why would enemies feed us like this? Why would they give more than we've seen in years? At the table, the women eat slowly, as if the food might vanish if they move too fast. Each bite feels unreal. Soft bread melting on the tongue. Thick oats filling their empty stomachs. Sweet fruit that tastes almost like sunlight. A whisper spreads down the line of women, too quiet for the guards to hear. "They eat like this every day? No one at home has fruit anymore. This can't be real." Keiko closes her eyes around the spoon in her mouth, savoring warmth she'd forgotten existed. But with every bite, another thought burrows deeper. Sharp, painful, unwelcome. If this is how the monsters live, what else were we lied to about? The food nourishes their bodies. The doubt begins to consume their minds. The days settle into a rhythm, quiet, predictable, almost gentle. And that, more than anything, unsettles them. In the afternoons, the women are allowed into the courtyard. The sun hangs low, painting the dirt ground gold. A few American soldiers stand nearby. Not looming, not threatening, simply present. Leaning on rifles with an air of casual boredom. No barking commands, no sudden outbursts, just men trying to escape monotony. Keiko sits on a bench repairing a tear in her uniform when she notices something strange. One of the Americans, tall, broad-shouldered, face dusted with freckles, walks toward them carrying a small wooden crate. The women tense instantly. But instead of demands, he kneels and sets the crate down. Books, magazines, even newspapers. He nods once, taps the edge of the crate, and steps away without a word. The women stare as though he has delivered forbidden magic. Yumi hesitantly lifts one of the magazines. The cover shows a smiling American woman holding a basket overflowing with bread, oranges, and something she only vaguely recognizes, milk in a tall glass bottle. Her breath catches. "Look at her," she whispers. "She looks safe." Another woman flips through a newspaper and gasps softly. "The cities, look!" They're still standing. No ruins, no rubble. Keiko feels something heavy sink inside her. Home comes to her in flashes, the burned shells of buildings, the cratered streets, the thin, Desperate faces of neighbors clutching empty rice bowls. She presses a hand to her chest. Why do they get this life? Why did ours crumble? But the deepest wound comes when an American guard, noticing Yumi's shiver, quietly retrieves a spare jacket from the supply shed and hands it to her. He doesn't speak. He doesn't expect thanks. He simply offers warmth. Yumi can barely take it. Her lips quiver. They treat us better than some treated us at home, she whispers. Keiko looks away, nausea twisting with gratitude. Kindness is supposed to feel comforting. Instead, it unravels them. Every gentle gesture, every small mercy, every glimpse of American abundance fractures their certainty a little more. And in the cracks, a frightening truth begins to glow. The enemy is not who they were told to hate. Nights in the camp are the hardest. Not because of fear. Fear has slowly begun to lose its grip, but because of the unbearable weight of reflection. When the barracks grow quiet and the lanterns flicker low, there is nowhere left to hide from the thoughts clawing inside their chests. Keiko lies awake, listening to the rhythmic breathing of the other women. Outside, a guard hums to himself, a soft, tuneless melody. It drifts in through the cracks of the wooden walls like a lullaby. How can he hum? How can someone capable of such normal, gentle sounds be the monster we were shown? She pulls out her diary and opens it beneath the lantern's thin light. Tonight I watched an American soldier give his rations to a stray cat. She writes, her hand trembling slightly. A cat. He crouched there in the cold, breaking his own meal into tiny pieces so the animal wouldn't be afraid. Is this the behavior of a creature without a soul? Or have I been blind? The shame settles in her bones. Across the room, Yumi sits upright, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the floorboards. They smile at us, she whispers into the silence. They help us. They speak gently, and every time they do, I feel like a traitor for not hating them. Keiko understands too well. The greatest cruelty, she realizes, is not violence. It is kindness from the enemy. Kindness sharp enough to slice. Through years of carefully built fear and loyalty. Because what are they supposed to feel? Gratitude? Guilt? Envy? Or the most dangerous thing of all, human connection? Earlier that day, one of the American medics had asked Keiko, through broken Japanese, if her injured wrist needed rebandaging. He'd spoken softly, respectfully, almost apologetically for touching her arm. She had nodded, but inside something shattered. A voice whispered in the back of her mind, unwelcome and terrifying. If this is how Americans truly are, then who have we been fighting? And more haunting still, what if we never knew the truth at all?